We can both agree with the fact that when we look at artistic representation, men tend to have in general a darker skin tone and women tend to have a lighter skin tone. And of course there are the occasional men that have more of a yellow skin tone, but in the majority of cases we could say that those are eunuchs. So let's talk about this difference between men and women when it comes to skin tone in Egyptian art. My interpretation is the fact that it's possible that in general the population had a bit of a lighter skin tone. They weren't white, but they had a lighter skin tone, and then this skin tone becomes darker because men tend to work the fields whereas women don't. To you, specifically, this is a fantasy.
Okay, so to address this argument is actually very simple. Let's start with the pharaohs. The pharaohs are often portrayed as very dark skinned, and he says that the reason men are brown is because they work the fields. Now, I don't know how you think kingship works, but most of the time, pharaohs don't work the fields. They actually do administrative work, yet they are portrayed not only as brown skin, but also as very, very, very dark skin. Now, I don't know which part of administrative work or ordering people around or hiring people to order people around is going to make you desire to work the fields, to be a beast of burden. So this is the first attack on this argument. The third argument is that actually we have queens and princesses and royals and nobles who are female, who are portrayed as brown skin. And in order to make the theory stand that the ancient Egyptian people's skin color changes because they work in the field, you must say that these women too have spent as much time as someone who would work in the field in the sun themselves. And the question would then be why? Why would these specific women spend so much time in the sun compared to the others? The second point is, sure, women in the palace and the queens definitely didn't work the field, but the idea that peasant women and middle class women didn't work the fields is ridiculous, especially since we have evidence that women did work the field. As you can see, there's many inscriptions and descriptions of ancient Egyptian women working the fields. But not only that, there's actually instructions and payments and all kinds of stuff that depict the fact that women did work the fields. In fact, it's one of the most typical jobs for a woman back in ancient Egypt. Obviously, women didn't work as much as men in almost any field, maybe with the exception of weaving, but women did work the fields. The concept that women did not work the fields or work outdoors at all was a theory made up to justify why the skin color of the ancient Egyptian women are often painted as yellow. Now, I will say to you that the skin color, as you can see in some cases, is still yellow in spite of the fact that they work in the fields. Some are portrayed as completely brown, even though they're in the fields. So I don't accept the idea that the reason why they're yellow is because they don't work on the fields. Also, the field is not the only place you can work outdoors. There's grinding grain, there's textile work, there's all kinds of things that most women did outside. Most people in ancient Egypt, the idea that they sat inside and worked indoors is just not true.
The intellectually honest answer to this is that more evidence is required to be deemed conclusive. These are theories. Since you are the one who said that it's important to evaluate and present both sides of the argument, well, you didn't. Also, I find it interesting that you say that we, people that don't agree with Afrocentric ideas, are blind. Because, I mean, you're trying so hard to prove that the word olive skin does not represent and does not work and does not match the color that we see in iconography.
I'll let the people compare olive skin complexion with the skin complexion of the ancient Egyptian wall paintings and statues. They'll be the judge, provided that they have proper eyesight. So you probably have proper eyesight. So please judge properly with your eyes, not through blinkers. I would like to show you the coloration of Egyptian wall paintings and the actual coloration of olive skin that the metatron is talking about.
And then you show this to prove that they don't match. But I mean, I went over it with the Photoshop color picker. They are the exact same. Are you blind? Do you understand you just proved my point? Olive skin will match with some people and it will not match with others because some have an olive skin, some have a brown skin. That just proves that they are multi-ethnic.
You see, the problem here is he's saying that this is proof that they're multi-ethnic, but isn't it more proof that some people in Egypt could have a lighter tone and some people could have a darker tone? I mean, I suggest this because there are people in Africa who have a light tone, and then if they stay too long in the sun, they become blacker and blacker. The woman that you have shown on the side, what are the chances that she could turn into the brown color instead of the one that you picked that you say is the same color as her? But I don't disagree with this idea that ancient Egypt was multi-ethnic and maybe that woman at the back was of another tribe. But this defeats the idea that the ancient Egyptians were light-skinned.
Also, let's look at this guy's skin, which you used on your video to demonstrate that current Egyptians have no relation whatsoever with ancient Egyptians. Let's compare his color on the Photoshop color picker with the color used in Egyptian paintings. This is from your video.
This one is just outrageous. If you look at the color of the original one, it's very brown. If you look at the edited one, it looks reddish, and that's maybe to try and match with the man who's standing there. But if you look at the man and you compare him to the original one, clearly the man is shades lighter than the brown dude. And more than that, there's a woman in the background and she's shades darker than this man, even though women are supposed to not work the fields and be light skinned. This does not make sense at all.
Video.
Only black people in this world can live there and work outside without protecting their skin because they have high melanin content that is already protecting their skin from the UV rays. There is no way a Eurasian people can live in Egypt and walk around bare chest and be fine with it. No.
Look, an Asiatic person with no shirt on, under the sun.
Again, he shows this image of Asiatic people in the middle, and as you can see, Asiatic people, especially the ones that came to Egypt, lived in the desert, but it did not affect their skin color. And as you will see, the heat is not really the most burdensome thing to the skin's shade in short term. It takes a long time for your skin to start building up melanin that will darken you in a way that will appear black. Here's a video of people from Iraq who, as you can see, the sun is constantly blaring on them, but their skin color still remains quite bright. Even this traffic officer who spends all day in the sun still doesn't approach the skin color of the ancient Egyptian men.